Hello and welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here, and today we'll be discussing about a very important topic, carbon markets and India. This topic is important. It has already come in Prelims 2023. So we'll be seeing the question as well. We'll be discussing all the possible perspective in UPSC view. Alright, so let's begin the topic. Let's first come to the question. The question is set A question number 23. It gives us two statements. I'll highlight the important things from the question later on. Okay, it gives us two statements, 1 and 2, and asks us to consider both of them. The first statement says the carbon markets are likely, this word is to be taken, likely to be one of the most widespread tools in the fight against climate change. So we are talking about the possibility. So this makes it a soft statement, as it says that it is or it may be possible. Alright, but there is a strong possibility. So we'll see if there is a strong possibility to this statement when solving the question. Now let's come to the statement 2. I'll just highlight this. Okay, so what we have to do here is to see whether they have the potential. We have to judge the potential of the carbon markets and see if it's a possibility. Statement 2 says that carbon markets transfer resources from the private sector to the state. State means the governments. So let's say, is this possible? And what is the relation between both these statements? Does statement 1 explain the statement 2? Alright. Okay. So let's check this question. First of all, it talks about the carbon markets. So what is carbon? C12, or mostly or often found in the form of CO2. The CO2 is released as a pollutant from various industries upon burning of fossil fuels or coal. The CO2 works as a GHG or greenhouse gas. As per a greenhouse effect, where these gases accumulate in the layers of environment or atmosphere, and the earth gets hot because the light or the temperature cannot get reflected and it gets accumulated basically here. The concentration of CO2 also rises. Okay, so it works as a temperature rising effect. This is known as the greenhouse effect. Okay, so one of the factors of climate change. Alright, so here we take the association of the carbon with the climate change. Now let's come to the next thing. Just a second. Okay, let's come to the next thing here. When we talk about the carbon market, so now we are focusing on this term. So basically we have a market, or we are trying to develop a market for the carbon. So how can we trade carbon? Alright, so carbon can be traded as per some carbon credits. Let's say an emitter 1, he is supposed to emit as per his NDC, he is supposed to emit 100 tons of carbon per month or per day or whatever. And there's emitter B, he is supposed to emit 500 tons of soap. Now, by only emitting 70 tons in the same time frame, he gets 30 carbon credits, which he can sell to this emitter B. So in order to make his cap 530 tons. Alright, overall they are releasing 600, but they have redistributed. So it offers benefits to countries it offers benefits to those countries which can generate these credits, whose carbon emission is lesser than the cap attributed to them. Okay. It also offers extra carbon credits from these countries to those emitters who want to emit more than the allotted cap. But it discourages them financially to do so because they are losing dollars here. Okay. Here they are getting carbon credits but having a financial loss. That's why it is discouraging to them to do so. All right. And this all maintains that the carbon or CO2 is emitted as per the total global cap. Total global cap. Okay. So this makes our statement 1 clear. That country 1 who emits less is being encouraged to emit even lesser, so that they can earn more credits. While the country 2 who emits more is being discouraged to emit even, let's say it is encouraged to even emit even lesser because it is losing finances. All right. And by reducing the overall cap, this overall CO2 emission can be reduced. So this makes our statement 1 correct. Let's now talk about the statement 2 in the course of the video. Okay. So recently, this is because this was in the news. So Parliament of India, we are talking about India, passed the Energy Conservation Amendment Bill 2022 on declining the opposition's demand to send it for scrutiny to a parliamentary committee. Is not important. Just this is important. All right. Carbon markets is a mitigation strategy which is becoming popular with several countries to meet their NDC, that is nationally determined contributions, toward a net zero target. Okay, what is net zero? Net zero is when the carbon emitted and the carbon absorbed becomes equal. So how carbon is absorbed? Let's say this can be absorbed by a sink by developing forests. This can be captured. The CO2 can be captured. However, this is expensive. Or credits can be purchased to increase the cap. All right. Okay. So this is the important thing here to mention in the answer, that Article 6 of the Paris Agreement provides for the use of international carbon markets by countries to fulfill their NDCs. Okay, so this is one step in the fulfilling of NDCs. So this is what you are supposed to write in the answer. So the United Nations International Carbon Market envisioned in Article 6 of the Paris Agreement is yet to kick off, as a multilateral discussion are still underway. So this has not kicked up right now. Under the proposed market, however, countries would be able to offset their emissions by buying credits generated by greenhouse gas reducing projects in other countries. All right. So in this mechanism, what else can happen? That one country, let's say country A, can fund a project in country B. Okay. And this will reduce the carbon emission in a way that some project will be developed here. Let's say this is a solar project. So it is reducing emissions. So by investing in this project, this will get some credits, some carbon credits. So whatever this solar project is achieving, let's say however much it is reducing of the total cap of this country, this will get with the credit, okay, in exchange of the dollars. But this poses a problem also. The problem here is, let's say this is country A, USA. Okay, USA invested some dollars in, let's say, India to develop a solar farm. Now solar farm is approximately reducing, let's say, 300 tons of carbon emission from normal. Okay, so what USA got, let's say USA got this as credit. So it emits from CO2 from here now. But India will also count this, that we have reduced carbon emission because of this solar farm. So these also get counted here. So it became double counting. That CO2 got released from here anyway, but India also counted that we reduced CO2 emission. While this never really happened only once. So this is known as the problem of double counting. All right. So under the proposed market, this we have already seen. Let's move forward. So carbon markets are essentially a tool for putting a price on the carbon emission. They establish a trading system where carbon credits or allowances can be bought and sold. So this will establish a market. A UNDP release this year noted that interest in carbon markets is growing globally. Okay, 83% of the NDCs submitted by countries mention their intent to make use of international market mechanisms to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So all the countries have made big NDC. Let's say, just a second. So all of the countries are saying we will reduce our carbon emission by this amount, We will not be depending upon carbon. The reality is that they will be depending upon the carbon markets. That means they will be offsetting this extra CO2 emission to other countries by purchasing carbon credits. All right. Okay. So let's now see the other thing. The World Bank. What does it say? The trading in carbon credits could reduce the cost of implementing NDC by more than half, by as much as $250 billion by 2030. Okay, so let's see what is carbon credit. So we've already seen carbon credit, a very simple thing. When one reduces the emission, then it generates carbon credit. I hope you already know about the difference between credit and debit. Credit something you already have, but you haven't paid for. All right. Okay. So carbon credit is kind of a tradable permit that per United Nations standards equal 1 ton of carbon dioxide removal, reduced or sequestrated from the atmosphere. This carbon sequestration is very important term. Must know about this. That how this is carried out. All right. But remember this 1 ton. 1 ton. That means 1000 kg. All right. Other thing is carbon allowances or caps. What is a cap? Let's say cap is what holds the limit. So caps are determined by countries or governments according to their emission reduction targets. Okay, so this is also a fact you must remember. Now let's come forward to the carbon market again, just to explain it better. That this is a carbon market. Let's say it's an international carbon market. So there will be an international rate for the carbon credits. They will keep becoming more and more expensive with their passage of time. This is emitter B. It has a real GHG emission is reduced. Then the cap. This is cap or limit. So this has this many credits. Let's say 30 credits. Now this sells these 30 credits to this emitter A. So it can emit 30 credits more. Okay, by purchasing the credits by dollar or rupees or whatever. All right. So let's see the type of carbon markets now. So there are voluntary markets. Voluntary markets mean that it is as per their choice. Okay, so those in which emitters, corporations, private individuals and others buy carbon credits to offset the emission of 1 ton of CO2 or equivalent greenhouse gases. Such carbon credits are created by activities which reduce CO2 from the air, such as afforestation. So this is voluntary. All right, let's see the other type. Okay, let's just stick to this for once. In the voluntary market, a corporation looking to compensate for its unavoidable GHG emissions purchase carbon credits from an entity engaged in projects that reduce, remove, capture or avoid emissions. So this works on the same basis as usual, that you will reduce, I will release CO2, no issues between us. Okay. In voluntary markets, credits are verified by private firms as per popular standards. There are also traders and online registries where climate projects are listed and certified credit can be bought. Okay, one more issue with this, let me tell you. Okay, one more issue is this is of counting. Okay, there are many less viable methods of seeing, let's say, this project A is a solar farm, or it's a windmill, let's say. Now, how can you ascertain that what much CO2 emission has been reduced by this? Alright, had it been an electricity generator, electricity operated, or fossil fuel operated mechanism of production producing electricity, then how much CO2 overall has been reduced relatively? Because that will eventually decide the credits. Okay, so it's very hard to see because even a windmill, you are setting a windmill, let's say. So this also requires many things. Okay, the cost of machinery, the production of machinery, how much CO2 was used in the production of that machinery itself. So it's very hard to actually realize how much CO2 was reduced in this. Many people now focus on the battery generated cars, let's say e-vehicles. Alright, so the catch here is that there is a battery here in the car itself. So it doesn't directly use the fossil fuel, but the question here is that how the electricity that charges the battery comes. Okay, what produces the electricity? The most of the electricity is produced by directly burning the fossil fuel, because coal is more than 50%. Alright, as a source of producing the electricity in India. So the battery is eventually powered by the coal only, more than 50%. Okay, so it's a catch here. Unless we develop more efficient ways to charge these batteries or to, let's say, operate our windmills or solar projects, so it will always stand as a hindrance to our climate goal. There will just be a curtain on the actual happenings inside. Alright. Okay, let's see forward. So there are other type of markets as well, compliance market. So they are set up by the policies at national, regional and international level and are officially regulated. There is just this simple difference. They mostly operate under a principle called cap and trade, most popular in the European Union. Under the EU's emission trading system launched in 2005. So this is important. Member countries set a cap or limit for emissions in different sectors such as power, oil, manufacturing, agriculture and waste management. Okay, so the cap is determined as per the climate targets of countries and is lowered successively to reduce emissions. Last year, the value of global markets for tradable carbon allowances or permits grew by 164% to a record 760 billion euros, according to an analyst of Refinitiv. So this is not important, just some data which you can use to enrich your answer. But before enrichment, you must know about the basics. Alright. So basics is what? Just a second. Okay, basics is what? That this thing is growing. The carbon markets are growing. Now, if you have remembered the data, then you can say that the price increased by this of the credits or the share of the credits increased by this. But that's not important. The important observation is that the carbon market is growing, and this can likely be the most useful tool for fighting against the climate change. Alright, okay. One more thing, let's see. The cap is determined as per the climate targets of countries and it's lowered successively to reduce emissions. So this is what I told you about. It is lowered successively. First of all, let's say it was 500 tons emission, then it was 400. Then it's 300, let's say. Now the price of the credits will keep on increasing eventually. Okay. So this we have already seen the data. The US ETS contributed the most to this increase, accounting for 90% of the global value at 683 billion euros. Alright, let's move forward. So China launched the world's largest ETS in 2021, estimated to cover around 1/7 of the global carbon emission from the burning of fossil fuels. Markets also operate or are under development in North America, Australia, Japan. So it's basically a global phenomena. So it's global, it's developing, it's growing. Just a second. So it's developing and it's growing. And it's supposed to be successful. Okay. So the challenges to carbon markets, etc. we'll see in the next lecture. I'll just quickly wrap around it. All right.